Over 40 years ago, I walked into my first classroom as a teacher. 34 pairs of curious eyes looked at me. My heart raced and my stomach fluttered. In that moment of doubt, a picture from the past flashed across my mind. It was a teapot, a teacup. And I heard the echo of my father's words. Steep with purpose, pour with care, give the gift of time. That memory gave me courage. I smiled at my young learners, unaware that this was the beginning of a journey that would change my life forever. These 3 lessons are my guide in how I live, how I lead, and how I serve in education. Today, I want to share these lessons with you, not as answers, but as stories that might light your path. All of us have moments in our lives that have shaped us. Can you think of a moment from your past that still shines guidance into the choices you make today? Close your eyes for 5 seconds and find that moment. That is the power of small moments. They shape who we are. Before I ever stood in a classroom with students or in a boardroom, I stood in my parents' kitchen watching my father make tea. I did not know then that this simple ritual would become my guiding light on a global journey from India to Saudi Arabia to Canada, where I now serve as the Director of Education for the 2nd largest school district in Canada. In our home, tea time was together time. This is a picture of my father and me. On weekends, my father would insist on giving my mother a break and making the evening tea himself. And suddenly, the kitchen would come alive. The rhythm of boiling water, the clink of teaspoons. It was an orchestra announcing something special. My father warmed the teapot, measured the tea leaves, poured the boiling water. 2 minutes of steeping, and the perfect brew was ready. Without knowing it, I was learning my first leadership lesson. Steep with purpose. Don't rush. Be intentional. From then on, intention became my guide in learning, in teaching, and in leading. And like every journey, it came with both excitement and mistakes. Early in my career, I was teaching at a school in Mumbai, India. My high school students were restless. They wanted less textbooks and more of the world. They wanted voice, choice, and interaction. So we experimented. We shifted the classroom to a space where students led more, asked bigger questions, and explored learning in new ways. The energy, it was electric. But then one day, when I walked into the staff room, I overheard a colleague say, "The new broom sweeps clean." I was shocked. I was being called a new broom, implying that I was making changes without collaboration. It wasn't meant as praise. In my excitement to change, I had forgotten something essential, that leadership is not about rushing ahead alone. It is about bringing others along with you. I never forgot that learning. Fast forward to today. One of the things I do is to hold talk and tea sessions with principals and vice principals from across the district. We sit in a circle and share successes, challenges, goals, and ideas. We co-create solutions because they know their schools and communities best. So I learned that meaningful change does not come from speed. It comes from steeping. And steeping is only the beginning. Because once the tea is ready, what matters next is how you pour it. I remember when the tea tray reached the living room, my father poured tea with care into each cup from this very teapot that is so precious to me. It was his quiet way of saying, be present, care for one another. And that became my guide as an educator. Sometimes the smallest pour of care can have the biggest impact. Let me show you how with a story that is close to my heart. The next phase in my career took me to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where I taught in an all-girls school. There I met a brilliant student who told me she could never be a neurosurgeon or a space engineer. I asked her why she felt this way. She paused and said, because I'm a girl. Her words made me feel very sad. It reminded me that leadership and education should not only be opening the doors to classrooms, it should also open the doors to work and the door to dreams. So I poured not just knowledge, but care and belief into every conversation. Belief that every student belongs and is capable, that each one has a future that is theirs to claim. Years later, she sent me a photo of herself in a medical school coat with a simple, heartfelt message. I am going to be a neurosurgeon. Thank you for believing in me before I could believe in myself. Such actions remind me that in whichever role we serve, we all have the power to transform lives. This is what it means to pour with care. Let me take you back to that living room, that tea tray, and a father who showed me what care truly looks like. Now the tea was poured and cups filled to the brim. Over a cup of tea, ordinary conversations felt extraordinary. The only thing that mattered was giving each other the gift of time. Over time, I've come to realize that the greatest changes seldom come from big speeches and policies. They come from listening, from presence. Here is an example. In my current role, I took a decision when I started that I would begin by visiting each and every school in the district, all 262 of them. Let me tell you, I was not going there to inspect. I was going there to connect with students, staff, and families. For when we give young people our time, we give them dignity. And dignity builds trust. And trust is where change begins. These visits forever changed me. They humanized the data. Behind every percentage was a child. Behind every statistic, a story. They reminded me that leadership is not about only built on titles, it is built on presence. When people feel seen, heard, and valued, culture shifts. And when culture shifts, results follow. I saw this transformation come to life when students in many schools started leading environmental change from vegetable gardens to energy-saving projects. They wanted to spread this message system-wide. So we created a student climate action committee. And today, there are more than 100 schools that are certified as eco-schools. And students are designing our district's climate action plan, leading system-wide sustainable change. This is what happens when we give young people the gift of time and trust. From a simple tea ritual at home to leading a system of thousands, these 3 lessons have always been my guide. In today's rapidly changing world, our responsibility is clear: to prepare students not only for the world they inherit, but for the world they will create. A world shaped by technology, artificial intelligence, shifting economies, and new definitions of work. A world where jobs are being reinvented every day. So education must change, and so must we. For what good is a skill set without a value set? Now, I pass on my father's values to my 3 grandchildren, Nia, Neve, and Maya. The values of patience, care, and kindness. And I add new ones for their generation. Courage to speak up and to listen. Joy to bring warmth in every room. Responsibility to themselves, to others, and to our world. In a world that's racing forward, pausing brings us back to what matters most: the small, the subtle, the quiet lessons held in a cup of tea. So I leave you with this challenge. This week, find one person, a family member, friend, student, colleague, and give them your full presence. Just as my father's tea ritual has been my guide for over 4 decades in education, I hope you leave today with a guiding light of your own. Steep with purpose, pour with care, give the gift of time. These lessons are now yours to carry forward. Thank you.